I don't talk to most people about what happened in those woods, not because I'm afraid they won't believe me, but because I know they'll want to believe it was just a story. I wish I could believe that too. My name is Ryan, and 2 years ago, my best friend Evan and I went on a weekend camping trip into the Black Ridge Forest Preserve, about 4 hours north of where we grew up. We'd camped before, plenty of times actually, so we thought we knew what we were doing. But the Black Ridge isn't like other forests. It doesn't feel empty. It feels aware. Like something in those trees has been watching for a very, very long time. The trip begins. Evan was the kind of guy who always wanted to go further, take the longer trail, climb the higher ridge, find the quiet spots nobody knows about. Me? I liked nature, but I liked safe nature. Picnic tables, trail markers, cell service, those little reminders that the world still existed. But Evan wanted silence. He said he needed it. He'd been going through a rough time, losing his job, his breakup. You know how life starts stacking things on top of you all at once? So when he asked me to take this trip with him, I didn't hesitate. He needed me, and he'd done the same for me once. We loaded up his truck and left just after sunrise. We joked, sang along to old songs, talked about anything and everything. The deeper we drove, the taller the trees got, and the thicker the silence felt. By the time we reached the old ranger station at the entrance, there wasn't another car, not one. There was no ranger either, just a weather-bleached sign. Enter at your own risk, limited rescue access. Evan laughed when we read it. Perfect. That means no crowds. But I didn't laugh. Not really. Something about that sign felt like a warning, not a notice. Like someone had written it for us, specifically. The first hike in. The trail was steep and narrow but manageable. We walked for almost 3 hours before we found a clearing big enough to set up camp. The clearing was quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Dead quiet. No wind. No insects. No birds. Forests are supposed to move, breathe, live. This one didn't. It felt paused, like something was listening. Evan didn't feel it, or maybe he did and ignored it. He just said, "This place is perfect." I nodded. I didn't want to ruin it for him. We pitched the tent, hung the food bag, built a small fire. Everything was normal. Until sunset. That's when the forest changed. Night 1. We were sitting by the fire, talking about stupid things, like why adult life feels like constant waiting for something you can't name. We weren't talking loud. We weren't making noise. But the forest reacted anyway. It went from quiet to completely still. The air felt heavier. The temperature dropped, just slightly, barely noticeable if you weren't paying attention. But I was. The fire flickered sideways, like the air shifted. And then we heard it. Not footsteps, not branches breaking, not breathing. A single, low, drawn-out sound. A sound that didn't belong to any animal I've ever heard. Somewhere in the trees, maybe a few dozen yards away. A sound that didn't sound like a call. It sounded like a warning. Evan looked at me. Probably just a deer. But deer don't make sounds like that. I opened my mouth to argue, and then it happened again. Same pitch, same length, same direction. Not moving, not approaching, just watching. We didn't go to sleep for a long time, and when we finally did, it was only because exhaustion forced us to. But I didn't sleep well, because sometime during the night, I woke up to something walking outside our tent. Slow, careful, measured, like it already knew we were listening. Evan didn't wake up. I didn't call his name. I didn't move. I just lay there, staring up into the fabric of the tent, praying the thing outside wouldn't decide to get closer. After a few minutes, or hours, I don't know, it stopped, and the forest went still again. Morning. When we stepped outside, the ground around our tent had footprints. Not boots, not paws, not hooves. Footprints. Bare, human-shaped. But wrong. Too long, too narrow, too deep at the heel, like whatever made them walked on the back of its feet. Evan stared at them a long time before saying, "Could be some hunter messing with us." But the nearest town was more than 30 miles away, and no hunter walks barefoot, and no human foot is shaped like that. But I didn't say any of that, because the truth was already crawling up my spine. We were not the first ones here, and whatever was here hadn't left. Evan didn't say it, but I could tell he wasn't scared. He was excited. That was the difference between us. Where I felt danger, he felt adventure. Where I felt dread, he felt possibility. He was always like that. The charismatic one. The brave one. The one people liked. And me? I was always the shadow standing next to him. I didn't realize how much that resentment had grown, not until the footprints. They were right beside my sleeping bag, closer to my side of the tent than his, like whatever was out there was more interested in me. Or maybe it could feel something in me that I couldn't. Fear. Weakness. Something worth choosing. The day hike. We decided to hike deeper into the woods to look for tracks, or signs, or I don't even know, to make sense of what we had seen. But really, Evan was the one who chose to go deeper. I would have packed up and left that morning. I wanted to leave, but I didn't say anything. Because that's how our friendship worked. Evan made decisions, I followed. And part of me, a part I hate to admit exists, resented him for that. Resented how he always seemed unafraid. Resented how I always felt like I was a step behind him. And out there, in those woods, that resentment sat heavy in my chest like something alive, like something the forest could smell. We walked for hours without speaking much, not arguing, not tense, just different. For the first time, I wasn't just following him, I was watching him. The way he walked ahead of me, never turning back to check if I was okay, like he assumed I would always be there, like he didn't need me, like I was replaceable. And the deeper we went, the more I realized something. The forest wanted us to keep going. I don't know how else to explain it, but it felt like when we walked the wrong direction, the trees seemed denser, the air heavier. And when we walked the direction the forest wanted, the path seemed clearer, lighter, easier, like something was guiding us. The clearing. We came to a clearing around noon, wide, flat, circular, unnaturally circular. There were no animal footprints there, no scat, no disturbed grass, just untouched stillness. And in the center of the clearing was a tree, tall, bare, completely dead, like it had been stripped, not rotted. The bark wasn't decayed, it was peeled off in long, clean sheets, like something had removed it carefully. Not bugs, not weather, hands. Hands with patience. Evan walked straight toward it. I stayed where I was. He placed his hand on the bare trunk. The moment he did, the forest went silent again. Not just quiet, silenced. Like sound itself was being held still. I wanted to say his name, tell him to stop, tell him we should go back. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. I don't mean my voice failed. I mean, the forest wouldn't let me speak, like the air refused to carry my sound. Evan turned to look at me. His expression changed. Subtle. Not fear, recognition. Like he was finally seeing me. Really seeing me. You blame me, don't you? That was the last thing I expected him to say. Not there, not then. My voice came back in a rush. What are you talking about? He didn't look angry, or sad, just tired. You think I take things from you. My chest tightened, because he was right. I never said it. I barely let myself think it, but he was right. I swallowed. Evan, we should go back, now. He didn't move. He just kept his hand on that dead tree. Then he said something I will never forget. I don't think we're alone out here. Not afraid, not surprised, just aware. And on the other side of the clearing, something moved. Not fast, not hiding, just stepping into view. Tall. Too tall. But not standing upright. Walking low, bent. Arms long enough to brush the ground. I didn't see its face. I only saw the shape of it, and the way it moved. Slow, deliberate, curious, like it had been waiting for us. Evan, I whispered. He didn't turn. He didn't look scared. He didn't back away. He just kept staring at the tree, and the thing kept watching him. Not me, not us, him. Like the resentment inside me had drawn it to him, like it had smelled the distance between us. The creature shifted its weight, not toward us, but toward him, and I realized something in that instant. The thing in the forest chooses, and it had chosen one of us. The thing didn't approach us. It didn't run or lunge or make any sound at all. It simply stood there, motionless, half hidden behind the tree line, like it had always been there, and we were only now noticing it. Evan still had his hand on the stripped tree. His breathing was slow, too slow, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. I whispered his name again. Evan, please, come back. He turned his head slightly, not enough to look at me, just enough to show that he had heard me. But his expression didn't look frightened. He looked entranced, like whatever was watching him was speaking to him without making a sound. We left the clearing eventually. I don't know how long we stood there. Evan pulled his hand away from the tree. The moment he did, the air returned. Sound came back. The forest breathed again. Birds, wind, the distant rush of trees shifting. But the thing in the woods did not move. It stayed exactly where it was, watching, waiting. We didn't run. We just walked away, slowly, like any sudden movement would break something fragile. When we were finally out of sight of the clearing, Evan whispered, "We're being followed." His voice wasn't scared, it was certain. I already knew he was right. The feeling of being watched wasn't a feeling anymore, it was presence. Like the air behind us had weight. We didn't talk the entire hike back to camp. Back at camp, the fire had gone out, even though we had left it burning. Not died down, not smoldering, just gone. No embers, no warmth, like it hadn't burned at all. Evan sat down next to where the fire should have been and ran his hands through his hair. I didn't ask him how he was. I already knew. He was somewhere else. The forest had touched something in him, and I hated it. Not because I feared losing him, but because part of me felt like he had been chosen, and I hadn't. I didn't like that feeling, but I couldn't deny it. Night 2. We didn't sleep. We didn't even try. We just sat in the dark, waiting for sunrise. But the forest wasn't going to let the night pass quietly. Around midnight, the sound started. Not footsteps, not the creature. Voices. Whispering. Not words we could understand, but language, meaning, cadence, human, but not coming from anywhere. Not close, not far, all around us. Evan stared into the trees like he could see the speaker. I whispered, "Don't listen to that." He didn't look away. "It's not speaking to you," he said quietly. "It's speaking to me." I didn't reply, because I knew he was right. The voices grew clearer, not louder, clearer, as if they weren't entering our ears at all, as if they were entering our minds. And then, one of them spoke a word we did understand. One word. My name. Ryan. I felt something drop inside me, like the world shifted, like the ground tilted, like the forest had seen me. Evan turned to look at me, and for the first time since we arrived, he looked afraid. Not of the woods, not of the creature, of me. "It's not calling me anymore," he whispered. "It's calling you." My blood ran cold, because I already knew. The creature wasn't choosing him. It was waiting, watching, measuring, and now it had decided. The shift. From that moment on, the forest felt different. The trees didn't look the same shape anymore. The paths didn't lead where they led before. The air felt like it had a direction, pushing us somewhere. Evan wanted to leave. He said we should pack up, start walking, find the truck, get out. But I couldn't. I don't mean I refused, I mean my body didn't move. Like something heavy had settled into my limbs. Like leaving would be the same as tearing something alive out of my chest. Evan stepped closer to me, angry now. "Ryan, we're leaving. Right now." I didn't look at him. I didn't say a word. I just whispered, "We can't." He froze. Something inside him broke then. Not fear, betrayal. Because he finally understood. The forest hadn't chosen him. It had chosen me, and it wanted him to know. Evan didn't argue after I said we couldn't leave. Not at first. He just stared at me, searching my face for some sign that I was joking, or sleep-deprived, or losing my mind. But I wasn't. Something in the forest had already laid its hand on me. Not physically, but in the way that matters. The way you feel called, like a thread had wrapped itself around my ribs, my spine, the back of my skull. A subtle pull, always in one direction. Toward the clearing, toward the dead tree, toward it. Evan saw it, and something in him changed. His fear wasn't for himself anymore. It was for me. He finally said, "Ryan, look at me." I did. My voice came out quiet, flat, empty. "What? Tell me you're okay." I couldn't. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know what okay meant anymore. The forest felt like it was listening, waiting for my answer, so I didn't give one. Evan's jaw clenched, not in anger, in realization. He stepped back from me, not afraid of me, afraid of what was happening to me. "It's inside your head." I didn't respond. "Ryan, you're hearing it now, aren't you?" Yes, I was, but not like whispers, not like sound, like memory. Like I had known that voice long before this forest existed. I whispered, "It wants me to stay." Evan closed his eyes, just for a second, like he was mourning something. Then he grabbed my arm, hard. "We're leaving. Right now. You're not staying here." He dragged me toward the tent, and for the first time, I felt resistance. Not from myself, from the forest. The air thickened, my vision tunneled, the ground tilted, like reality was bending. Evan didn't let go. He pulled harder. "Look at me, Ryan. Look at me. Stay with me." I tried. God, I tried. But the whisper came again. Not outside. Inside. Soft. Patient. Let him go. My knees buckled. The world went silent. Not audio silent. Meaning silent. Like everything that ever existed had stepped 1 inch out of reach. I saw Evan's mouth moving, but I couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear anything. Just the whisper. "You were mine first." I hit the ground, everything dimmed, like sinking underwater. The forest didn't feel threatening. It felt familiar, comforting, like it had been waiting for me, like it knew me before I knew myself. When I came back, I don't know how long I was unconscious. Minutes, hours, impossible to tell. When I opened my eyes, the sun was gone. Night. The forest was black. And Evan was gone. Not the tent, not the bags, not the fire pit. Just him. Everything else was untouched. Like he had simply stood up and walked into the dark. No struggle, no trail, no footprints. Nothing. Just absence. Like the forest had erased him, or taken him, or... No, that's not what it felt like. It felt like he had gone willingly, like something had called him too, just not the same thing that called me. I called for him. At first, quietly. "Evan?" Then louder. "Evan!" Then screaming. "Evan!" The scream didn't echo. It didn't carry. The trees absorbed it, like sound wasn't allowed here. My breath shook, my hands shook, my voice broke. "Please, just answer me." Nothing, until a branch snapped directly behind me. I turned slowly and saw him, standing between the trees, not walking, not hiding, just standing. Face unreadable, eyes empty, like someone was inside him, trying to learn how to wear him. He stepped forward, 1 step, and stopped. No expression, no recognition, just stillness. Like he was waiting for me to speak first. I whispered, "Evan?" His head tilted slightly. Not curiosity, mimicry. Like he was copying the movement of remembering. The forest wind shifted, and I realized that wasn't Evan. Not anymore. The thing that had been watching us was now wearing him. I didn't move. I couldn't. The thing standing in front of me looked like Evan, but it wasn't him. Not in the way a voice isn't a person, or a shadow isn't a body. This was something using him, like a mask. His chest rose and fell, too slow. Like he was remembering breathing, not doing it naturally. His eyes were wrong. Evan had warm eyes, even when he was angry, even when he was sad. This version of him had nothing in them. Not emptiness. Absence. Like someone had scooped the person out and left a shell behind. When he spoke, it wasn't in Evan's voice. It was Evan's voice dragged across something older. You should not have called out for him. I felt my throat tighten. The voice had no tone, no rhythm, no breath between syllables. It wasn't spoken. It was produced. I forced myself to whisper, "Where is he?" The mouth moved too slowly. Here. That word hit me harder than anything else could. Not gone, not dead. Here. Somewhere inside the thing wearing him. Something in my chest broke then. Not fear. Guilt. Because part of me knew. Evan had always stepped ahead of me. Always led. Always took the hit first. and the forest had taken him because he stepped forward first, because I hesitated, because I let him. The thing stepped closer, not threatening, just standing closer, like it was studying me. He walked into the dark. He did not resist. He was already hollow. "No," I whispered. My voice cracked. He was tired. "That's not the same." "It is the same." I shook my head. My eyes burned. I hated how small my voice sounded. He followed me out here. For me, he didn't deserve this. The creature tilted Evan's head, slow and thoughtful. "You resent him." The words hit harder than any threat could. My voice caught. "I don't. I didn't. You did." It didn't accuse, it stated, like a fact, like something that has always known what lives in the quiet corners of human hearts. He lived in light. You lived in shadow. You wanted him to fall, and now he has fallen. You are free. My stomach turned. No. Yes. I loved him, I said, my voice breaking. And love rots when it is not returned. He did not see you. He did not hear you. He did not need you. My hands shook, because some part of me, some small, ugly part, knew those words were not entirely wrong. But I also knew something the forest did not. Love and resentment can exist in the same heart, and that doesn't make either one untrue. I stepped toward the creature. For the first time, I moved first. "Give him back." The forest went silent, utterly silent, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Evan's face twitched, once. The thing inside him responded, "No." And then, it turned and walked into the trees. Not fast, not threatening, just leaving, taking him with it. Leaving me in the darkness, alone. The decision. I could have followed. I could have run after him. I could have screamed his name into the dark again. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I understood something deeply, horribly true. The forest hadn't chosen me to keep. It had chosen me to watch, to witness, to remember, to carry the story. The forest never wanted two, just one. One to belong to it, and one to understand it. That was the bond. That was the price. I wanted to break, collapse, cry, fall to my knees and let the forest take me too. But some stories don't end with transformation or death. Some end with the unbearable weight of survival. I left. I don't remember walking. I don't remember finding the trail. I don't remember the drive. But I remember the moment I stepped out of the tree line and the sky opened up above me. Wind, sound, life. Things the forest had muted. I remember collapsing on the dirt road, screaming his name until my voice tore open. No one heard me. No one came. And eventually, I stopped screaming. Because I understood. No one ever leaves that forest completely. Part of me is still there, and part of him will always be there. Not lost. Not taken. Chosen. People think the story ends when you make it home. That once you escape the woods, once the danger is behind you, you start to heal. You start to understand. You start to put your life back together. That's not true. The forest didn't stay in the woods. It followed. Not physically, not like footprints or shadows or figures in windows. Something worse. Silence. The same silence that lived between those trees now lives in me. The same oxygen that felt heavy there feels heavy here. Every room I enter, it fills. Every night I try to sleep, it wakes up. Not loud. Never loud. Just there. Waiting. The missing person report. I told the police that Evan disappeared, that we were camping, that I woke up and he was gone. I said I searched. I said I screamed for him. I said I ran miles. All of that was true, just not the part they needed. I didn't tell them. The forest listened. Something wore his voice, and he left without being forced. They wouldn't have believed that. They would have believed one thing, that I left him. And maybe, in its own way, I did. They searched for 9 days. Helicopters, dogs, volunteers. They didn't find a jacket, a footprint, a scrap of fabric. Nothing. Not because he vanished, but because the forest doesn't return what it keeps. The night it came back. The first night after I returned, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, though I was, but because I was listening for the forest. It didn't take long. Around 3:12 a.m., the same time everything always began out there, I heard it. Something stepping in the hallway outside my bedroom. Slow, barefoot, careful, just like the first night in the tent. I didn't move. The doorknob didn't turn. The footsteps didn't come closer, but I could feel it. Someone was standing outside my door. Not pressing, not scratching, not calling my name. Just waiting. I closed my eyes, and I could see the forest, the clearing, the dead tree, the shape behind the tree line. And I could hear Evan's voice, not screaming, not begging, just calling, softly, the way you call someone you know will answer. Ryan. Not a ghost, not memory. Something alive. Something still there. Something that remembered me. Something that still wanted me to come back. The last time I went outside. It took me 3 months to work up the courage to return to the edge of those woods. Not inside, not even close to the tree line, just near enough to feel it again. I don't know why I went. I think I wanted to see if it was real, if any part of that world existed outside my memory. I stopped on the gravel road where the trees start growing dense. The forest was quiet. Not dead quiet. Not unnatural, just waiting. Like it already knew I was there. I didn't speak. I didn't call his name. I didn't ask for answers. I just stood there. And after a while, something moved. Not footsteps, not branches, just the faintest shape between the trees. Tall, bent, watching. Not approaching, just letting me know it remembers. The ending. I don't go near the woods anymore. I don't camp, I don't hike, I don't leave town if I can help it. But some nights, when the world is quiet, when the air goes still, when the hour turns to 3:12, I hear the forest again. Not outside, inside. A whisper. Not calling me this time, just reminding me. You left him. You left him. You left him. And the worst part is, I don't know if that voice is the forest or my own.